This video part was like probably like there was so much change happening in my life, you know, like around this time. So it brings back so many crazy memories because it was basically like kind of really the start of my like career as, I don't know, really the start of my career, even though obviously I'd been doing crap before. It was kind of like the landmark for me to kind of get things going. And I went to X Games just before like a year before, like what was it, 6 months before the video came out. And X Games was the worst thing I'd ever been a part of, and I just thought it was super corny and cheesy, and for some reason that title seemed to like, I don't know, seemed to like be funny or fit or something, I don't know. It wasn't like trying to make me look rad, I just thought it was funny. And then this opening scene is filmed in Chicago. I was actually dating my wife at the time. She lived in Chicago, and I used to plan all these skate trips there. Chicago was a sick city, and we just had this idea of just skating across this bridge. I knew I wanted to use this song for like almost 2 years, so I just thought it'd be a cool intro, just like skating across the bridge, kind of like, I don't know, just random but kind of a cool city feel. This Brooklyn Banks line, Dan Wolf filmed this, and spent a little time there, and no one had really ever skated that second rail, and I had this kind of idea. I knew the song that I wanted to use, so I thought this would fit for a cool opening line, kind of like before the guy got started. I didn't really know it would kind of fit as well as it did, and just kind of got lucky and it worked out. If you look too, there's a guy like right after I do the 3 flip, there's a guy pissing at the right on the pillar. It's kind of weird. Anyway, that was kind of like right after the X Games thing, so it was kind of almost the same rail pretty much. And I don't know, all this stuff, man, was just so much newness for me, you know, like I was doing things for the first time and just felt really, I don't know, like rad. Everything felt like super exciting and fun, and I was kind of like learning to skate rails properly, you know, and like learning tricks and kind of just learning so much at the time. And it's crazy, I kind of felt old when this part came out too, and I was only like 20 years old or something. I remember thinking that, like, I don't know, I thought this almost was going to be my last video part for some weird reason. I don't know, it's kind of a weird gig. But it was kind of the first part too that I started having visions of like editing and trying to figure out like how to do cool different things, like grouping tricks together at the same spot and stuff. I mean, obviously you kind of can see some of that playing out with all the tricks in a row at the El Camino rails. Sorry, is it cool if I go back? That was the first kind of big switch 180 nose grind I'd ever done. I was real psyched. That was probably like one of my favorite tricks I had in my part. Ironically, I used to wear this pentagram shirt all the time. Black Magic grip tape made it back then. That's the shirt I have on in the switch 180 nose grind. And it like, it's kind of like evil and twisted, but it gave me like, somehow I felt super tough in that shirt, and I felt like, I don't know, I guess maybe that's what stuff's about, like, I don't know, being psyched on evil. But it's kind of ironically weird that I used to be real excited about it. I always liked too that it kind of made people feel uncomfortable. I guess maybe that's why people are into pentagram stuff now. All this stuff in Philly with Dan Wolf was such a rad time. It's kind of learning and pushing myself, and Dan was just so psyched on filming and skating. It was like a rad time. A tube ride was kind of crazy. I'd always thought that was possible, driven downtown San Diego and seen that tube. And kind of like, it was kind of crazy because when you ollied onto it, your board would go different directions, and I don't know, I remember being real psyched on making it. Satva filmed that line of the kickflip and the Wally tail slide in Vancouver. That was my only manual trick. That's in Alabama right there. I slammed because there's a big crack at the end of the curb, but I put it in anyway just because I wanted Alabama in my video part. This 180's in Chicago on one of the trips to see my wife, my girlfriend at the time. And that's filmed by this guy who filmed 16 mil. Back lip was the biggest one I'd ever done at the time. I remember being really psyched on that. Some of this stuff's just kind of random, like I just wanted to have different stuff in there, like that's a Wally, like weird Smith grind. I remember being psyched on that too. I never really had a hubbut trick ever, so having a nose grind 180, I was real pumped. This Wally, and I wanted to kind of try and do weird, different stuff. This tree Wally, and then the backside 50-50 on the thing. The guitar kind of goes every time I push. I thought it was kind of cool, and it worked out and fit. But that was right down the street from my house in Pacific Beach. So was this. It's kind of weird how you really want to skate spots right down the street from your house. It could be really nothing, but you really want to skate them. You know, it's kind of weird, but I always liked it too. That's some pizza guy's car, and he told me, he's like, hey man, you want to jump over my car? And I was like, I don't think I can make it over your car. How about, can I ride on it? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I gave him the number to Tomieto back then and told him to call, and I'd send him a video when it came out. And he called one day, and the receptionist thought it was like a prank call and told him to beat it and never gave him the video. It sucks. Hopefully he saw it somehow though. That double sail was one of the biggest things I ever ollied back then. I was psyched on it. I was real psyched on trying to do lines to rails too. That was like I don't know, something kind of new that I hadn't really done before. And obviously you kind of see it. They're basically just flat ground tricks in a big rail, but I don't know, it's kind of hard when you've got a rail and there's nothing else to skate around. I think that might have been the first double kink I ever grinded. Dude, this rail had me shook. I pushed up to it for like 45 minutes, and obviously it'd never been skated, and it had a big gnarly pillar at the bottom, and I was seriously so scared. I listened to the Misfits for like 45 minutes straight trying to get pumped up. And eventually I was like, man, I got to go home or I got to do this. And we used to have this handshake. I think I talked about this in some other interview, but we used to have this handshake, and it was like a commitment handshake. And it's like when you gave someone the handshake that you were going to try it, you just tried it no matter what. And I gave my homie that was filming the handshake, and I tried it and got into feeble and ate it, but it ended up working out after. There's a pentagram shirt again. I think that Switch 180 nose grind and this nose blunt slides on the same day. And then this barefoot shenanigans. Around this time in the mid 90s, rails were real popular. I mean, they're popular now, but they were like just getting really popular. Like every page in a magazine was a rail, and like it got to be a point where like everything was really watered down, and like everybody had like feebles on like 8 stairs and like 9 stairs, and it's like every ad was like that, like a feeble or a Smith grind on an 8 or 9 stair. And I just started skating big rails, and I just kind of thought that maybe things were getting a little bit soft, so I thought like maybe if I could slide a big rail barefoot, that maybe people would not really be into, you know, skating kind of like super whatever rails and just keep shooting photos of them. And I don't really know that it worked, and probably no one even got that. They just thought that I was stupid for skating without shoes on, but that was what I was kind of doing.
You already had that barefoot ollie in Embarcadero before that, didn't you?
Yeah. For some reason, I don't really know why, but when I was a kid, I skated barefoot a little bit, and I knew that you could kind of do anything you want barefoot, but you just got to be willing to kind of endure the crap on your feet. And this 50-50 is a pretty good one. This 50-50, the last one on my part, I always wanted to do that. I tried it a couple times, and obviously it's just kind of high and long, but there's not really that much to it. But at any rate, I always wanted to do it, and I went there with Dan Sturt a couple times. This is really kind of weird. I went there with Dan Sturt a couple times to shoot it, and we either got kicked out, or the curb ramp didn't end up working, or something didn't end up happening, or I didn't have my head together. At any rate, I hadn't heard from Dan in a long, probably 6 months or something before the end of this part, so I didn't really call him, and I was shooting for a Transworld interview. And I was there with the Tiba, and then I was grinding the rail, and I was trying it for probably half an hour, and it was just randomly. I hadn't talked to Sturt in ages, but anyway, I grinded the rail, and when I looked up forward, I saw Dan Sturt sitting probably 200 feet away in his car in the parking lot. Somehow he was there and knew I was there, and nobody knew except the people that were there.
Wow.
Anyway, I just skated over to him, and he's like, "You finally got that monkey off your back, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, what are you doing here?" And he's just like, "I just came to watch you skate." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "I got a photo if you ever need it." And he just drove off. And he had I looked in the passenger seat, and it was like a 3-foot-long lens or something. So random.
Classic Sturt story.
Anyway, that's it. But that definitely was like a pivotal moment in my life, and I don't know, man. I kind of look back on it, and it feels like really surreal just even thinking about it.